Manhood under the microscope. Popular culture, news reporting, and casual talk among friends point to a general perception that men's place in society is eroding. That is backed up with statistics about underemployment, educational stagnation, and dissatisfaction with life. Catholic thought leaders are increasingly addressing what appears to be a real problem. As Mark Irons reports, they say masculinity can flourish when blessed by faith.
What does it mean to be a man?
It's called discipline. It's called being a man.
Millions of men are looking for answers to that question, seeking influential voices online, looking for guidance.
Put your life together. Stop whining.
Some suggest the old formula is all wrong. According to the American Psychological Association, traditional masculinity, marked by stoicism, competitiveness, dominance, and aggression, is on the whole harmful. Those were the findings of the APA in 2019 when it published guidelines for psychologists working with men and boys.
The issue is not men. The issue is not masculinity per se. It is taking an overly extreme, a rigid and inflexible approach to our lives in which I'm only willing to show up as the Marlboro Man.
Call it traditional masculinity or toxic masculinity, a phrase heard in popular culture. Andrew Whiskeyman, a Catholic retired Army colonel and expert in military strategy, says something like dominance has a proper place, for example, on the battlefield. But any characteristics like competition or aggression, taken to their extreme, can be problematic. Still, that isn't unique to men.
Anybody can be toxic when they don't care about another person or they're selfish, or again, they take a strength, right, position of power they have, and they use it to serve themselves and to subject others. Have there been men in the past that do that? Yes. Does that mean that all men are toxic or masculinity is toxic? Well, that's a huge stereotypical stretch.
So maybe it comes down to this question. What does authentic masculinity look like?
To provide, to protect.
To have the courage to do what's right.
People should live by certain standards.
But for me to be a man, is to be part of a society.
And perhaps asking what is a man and where did he come from is even more central. Scripture says God created mankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. Since man and woman were created in God's image with a united body and soul, human beings contain a spiritual and physical reality, an identity given by God, no matter what the culture says.
The greater identity of who we are as man and woman requires us to strive for the spiritual realm while still respecting and reverencing the physical realm. And what that does is it means that we can't deny biological differences between men and women.
With that as a starting point, Father Stephen Gadberry, a Catholic priest in Little Rock, Arkansas, says to be a man means to know you are a son, created by God, a loving Father.
You have to live out of your deepest identity as a beloved son of God, one who is loved into existence by this God.
And then comes commitment to following Christ and sacrificially serving others as a husband, father, son, brother, friend, or co-worker. The mission applies to all men, whether single or married, priest or lay. If a man finds that to be a tough calling, Exodus 90 is trying to help. It's a spiritual exercise inviting men to strengthen their bodies, minds, and souls while working together through the highs and lows in a fraternal group.
When you can see God acting in another man's life, with his own struggles and joys and triumphs as well, it's extremely motivating.
Jamie Baxter is the founder of Exodus. The organization provides year-round resources for men and taps into ancient practices the Catholic Church has always embraced, but in individual lives today are often forgotten, like silent prayer and fasting beyond the minimal requirements during Lent.
We just have this belief that the Catholic Church is just a treasure trove, man. And so much has been forgotten, so much has been neglected.
With the faith guiding men to seek virtue, they must also cut out vices.
It was pornography, and, I would kind of get sucked into that.
Kurt Gibson hadn't shared that with anyone. Then a friend invited him to join an Exodus group. Through the fraternal group meetings, openness, and accountability, he eventually overcame his problem, and he found out he wasn't alone in his struggle with pornography.
It's a real battle that we're facing. And I think the more we talk about it, the better it's going to be to say to men, hey, it's okay that we're talking about this. We just need to figure out a way, okay, how are we going to find a solution? How are we going to help solve this problem that is affecting so many men?
To grow in spiritual well-being, Father Gadberry encourages men to take advantage of the sacraments the Catholic Church has to offer.
Go to confession. The church says once a year. I would challenge men to go once a month or once every 2 months at least. Weekly Eucharist, add in a weekday Mass. I would challenge guys to do that once a week. If they would add one more weekday Mass a week, I guarantee they'll see a difference.
And he says don't forget to work on physical health as well. Father Gadberry takes his faith to the gym. So does Father Rafael Capo in Miami, Florida, emphasizing fitness of the mind, body, and spirit. In the spiritual life, every man needs a role model or mentor. And learning about the saints can provide guidance because they lived very human lives in love of Christ.
The majority of the saints were pretty rough. and all of them had different histories and pasts and even things that they lived with through their whole life. So getting into the nitty-gritty things, it shows their humanity.
He says St. Joseph, the foster father of Jesus, is a great saint to pray to and ask for help. And if a boy or man is struggling and another man can offer some kind of encouragement or support, he should.
We as men need to step up and be fathers, whether we have biological kids or not, whether we're married or not. If we follow the example of Christ, then that means we go out and find the lost sheep.
Mark Irons, EWTN News In Depth.
We continue the conversation about masculinity, men as faith role models, and fatherhood with an author and professor well known for his writing about how to build a happy life.